Now, I hate to be that old guy talking about back in my day, this is how things worked. But if I was to go back into 2019, tell you that there's a light that's around 100 watts, that's bicolor and battery operational as well, and you can use it for AC power, and you can connect it to a Bowens mount, you would probably tell me that's going to cost around $600 to $800. Except the fact that now that this guy exists, it's a fraction of that price, and it could do all of that and a little bit more. Today's video, we're going to be talking about the Colbor W100 light. They did send this to me, I get to keep it, and they did sponsor this video, but I want to talk about all the features about this guy and where these small tiny lights are going, because I feel like we're spoiled in terms of lighting equipment these days, but we'll get there. Now, in terms of the size of this light, it's insultingly small. Now, this is the size of my iPhone 14 Pro. It's not even the Pro Max, the bigger one. And this is actually pretty close to being the same size. It is a little bit thicker and it's a little bit longer, but the fact that this is actually small in the size of an iPad and a little bit bigger than a phone makes it easy to pack into your bag, especially if you're traveling for someone who's a content creator, a vlogger, or a run and gun documentary setup. Now, this light isn't only small, but it is pretty versatile as well. You do get a color temperature range of 2700 Kelvin all the way up to 6500, and this is dimmable as well. So not only do you get a bicolor light, which you couldn't have got a couple years ago at this price, but at the same time, it's also dimmable as well. Now, I keep talking about the price, and we'll get into that a little bit later, but usually cheaper lights don't have great accuracy. Now, a CRI and a TLCI are basically the ways that you're going to be able to measure the accuracy in terms of color when it reflects on somebody's face. Now, the CRI value on this guy is going to be 97, where the TLCI is going to be 99, which is right up there with more professional lights that you might use on set. Now, is this guy going to be something you could film a feature film on? Who knows? But it is something that is great, it's accurate, it's really small, and it's also versatile as well. Now, you do have a proprietary mount on this light, which will give you things like a little diffusion bulb that's on there, but you could actually adapt this to a Bowens mount if you want to use bigger softboxes. Now, the W100 does have some versatility in terms of power delivery. If you want to use this just as an in-house studio light, you can actually do this by using AC power. But what's really cool is actually the battery grip that you can get for this guy as well. It's only $100 and it has more than enough power for you to be able to use this light on the go. On top of that, it also helps you with having a handle as well. Now, when you pair this with a Bowens mount light, you could have a mobile key light for whatever you need it for. Back in my heyday, I used to do a lot of fitness shoots where I was really running gun, a lot of handheld, and you were moving around quite a bit, which also meant that you couldn't really move around your lighting setup. And even when I was using 60-watt lights, if you had a lot of natural light, it might not give you the effect that you're looking for. Now you can hook up a Bowens mount, a larger softbox, to the battery grip on the bottom of the W100, and it's long enough to last. That battery also is D-tapped power as well, so you can charge it via a D-tap power, or you can AC charge it, and it gives you power delivery as well. So if you need to charge something via USB-C, like a phone or something like that, you can use that grip for it as well. Now, the W100 does have an incredibly quiet fan. It does generate a lot of power, being a very small 100-watt light, but at the same time, its fan's actually particularly quiet. I'm actually going to turn this on 100%, and we're going to see if you could hear the sound out of it. Okay, also, note to self, when using one of these lights, you want to be a little bit aware of your surroundings. I turned this on to 100% for that clip when I was showing you the fan, but these lights are really hot. In fact, it kind of burned a hole in the side of my pants. So if you are going to be using this, don't touch this with your bare hands. Now, that's how much sound it's going to output if you put the light directly in front of a microphone. However, if you're going to have it as a key light on a 45-degree angle, you're going to be pretty far away. And even right beside my microphone, it's not that loud. Now, what's a lighting review if we're not going to talk about a little bit of practical application? Now, Colbor did give me a bunch of different accessories in order for me to use the W100 in a run-and-gun situation. However, one thing I kind of wish I got was, well, I wish I got a bigger softbox. Generally speaking, the smaller the source of light, the harder it's going to be, and the bigger is going to be the softer. However, that didn't stop me from trying to get a really soft lighting setup, especially for interview scenarios. I had to cover a concert just a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things that we did in the heat of the moment was decided to do some interviews. Now, there was only one problem, is that I only had this combination of lights that were with me, and this was a little bit too hard of a source, even though it's a softbox with a grid. So one of the things that I did was I decided to use, well, everything but a softbox. In fact, I used a couple of t-shirts on a clothing rack in order to use it as cove lighting in order to get the scene that I wanted. And the results actually pulled off pretty decently. Now, in order to prove that lighting can strike twice in the same place, I'm actually going to try the same setup using some stuff in my house and maybe use some better fabrics in terms of making a lighting setup. So there is one other thing about the Colbor W100 that you need to know, and the fact that you could actually use an app on it as well. Now there's a little button on the top right corner where you could actually change this to the app button. If you got to make sure you do that because you can also use NFC connection, but if you don't have an NFC tag, you're not gonna be able to do this. So once you've enabled it on the app, and I'll show you on the screen over here, you're gonna be able to download the Colbor app so you can control the light fixtures on your light. And it's actually pretty simple to use. Now this is already paired, but if you're taking a look at this light scene, I'm not very good at lighting a car at night exteriors. However, if I'm gonna use one light, I can use the app in order to change my intensity and my color white balance as well. Right now on my camera at 5600 Kelvin, I'm shooting on a DZO Vespa Prime, but I'm gonna show you how you can control this pretty easily. So right now it looks like it's coming a little bit hot on my face. I actually do have this on a softbox and a grid, and all I can do if I want to take this down is I could bring down that intensity to make it a little bit darker, or I could turn it off. Now you can see my car lights are here. That's gonna kind of act as motivation, but these guys are a little bit warmer than what you bargained for. So I'm gonna turn this back up again, and I could actually turn that light key coming out either all the way up if I really want to get some exposure, and I can move this from 3800 all the way down if I want to get it to really yellow, which doesn't look very good on the monitor right now, or I can go all the way up to 6500, which also isn't great as well. I think actually stopping this in 3700 Kelvin is pretty close to where my lights are inside of the car, and this actually works for a one light setup. Now, you can leave a comment down below. I'm not very good at doing car scenes, but I was taking a drive around, the light was still in my trunk, and I wanted to be able to show you how you could use the app in order to control your lighting, just in case you're in a situation like this. So right now this looks kind of random, but basically what you can do is use your phone's camera in order to get the white balance of things that are around you to match your light up to. Now, I'm just taking some random photos in my car, but you can see that the white balance is actually changing, so that way you could change it on the light itself using the app. Now this is super handy, especially if you're not quite sure what to set your color temperature to and you need something a little bit more accurate. The app also has different things, like if you want to add CTOs or CTBs into your lighting, or if you want to use the different effects that you normally would see on a lighting app. The latter are pretty much things you've seen before, but for the ability for you to actually use your phone's camera in order to find the white balance actually helps out a lot, especially for beginners that aren't quite sure what to set their lighting to yet in terms of your Kelvin. Okay, change of plan here. So I have the Colbor W100 and that Bowens mount that I was talking about a little bit earlier. I'm also going to use the battery grip as well. This guy has a USB-C and a D-tap as well, and I can connect this into the bottom of this guy, and I can actually put it on a light stand in order to act as a light even when we're outside. Now, I waited till it was a little bit darker at night. 100 watts isn't enough to overpower the sun. However, we can see what the lighting effect is if you want to use this in an outdoor situation while you're on the fly. Also, if you want to just hold this with a softbox on it, this is kind of like I would have my backpack light solution, but using this grip is a lot easier and it's a lot lighter. It's also a lot cheaper, but we'll just see how things look before and after. Now, just for reference, 100 watt light to overpower the sun is not enough power. However, even using 100 watt light, when you wait till the sun gets a little bit lower, you're gonna get a little bit of a wrap on your face. I've tried to do a couple comparison clips. I'm shooting here really close to golden hour, at least like a couple minutes until the sun's about to set, and if I need this light to go outside in a portable situation, this is going to be a little bit easier to use because I don't really have to worry about having ballasts and cords everywhere. I could set that battery up, and I could set that battery grip up onto the Colbor W100 and give a little kiss of light. Now, obviously this is going to work a little bit better when you're working with it at night, but in terms of being able to use it outside, you might want to wait till the sun gets a little bit lower just to give yourself a little bit more wrap if you're not getting the exact light that you would get from outside. Now, all of that sounds fine and good, and one thing I've been mentioning over and over in this video was the price of this light. Now, I want you to keep in mind, when you're getting lights a little bit ago, most of them would cost you a couple $100, or they would have compromises like not being able to be battery powered, or they're big, they're bulky, or a really loud fan. The W100 by Colbor is only $169, and $269 when you add in that battery grip. That means for just under $300, you have a 100 watt run and gun light that's bicolor, dimmable, and as well as a portable power source. There are tons of lights out in the market right now, and it feels like a lot of them are getting smaller and smaller, and the outputs are getting, well, bigger and bigger. If you're looking for a run and gun light, this might be a great option to look at. The fan's pretty quiet, you can get a Bowens mount on this guy for bigger softboxes, and it fits into a backpack, which I like a lot, especially when I'm traveling and making content at the same time. Now, hopefully you guys like this video. At the very least, you'll learn a little bit about this new compact light, and a special shout out to Colbor for sponsoring this video, sending me this guy, because now I have an emergency light that I can use even when I need to use cove lighting off of a couple old t-shirts. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.